After a month in the hospital, I returned, and my son gave my house to his wife's family. I'm Auntie Jasmine, a 52-year-old black woman who spent 30 days in a hospital bed fighting pneumonia. And when I finally came home, I discovered my only son had given my house. The house I'd worked 3 jobs to pay off to his wife's entire family. By the time I was done with him, he'd lost not just the house, but his marriage, his job, and every penny of the inheritance he thought was coming his way. Let me tell you how a mama's love turned to a mama's wrath. The taxi pulled up to my house on Maple Street at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in September. I remember the exact time because I kept checking my watch, eager to see my home after a month of sterile hospital walls and beeping machines. My neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, had offered to pick me up, but I'd told her no. I wanted to surprise my son Marcus and his wife Shanice. Surprise them, I did. The first thing I noticed was wrong was the cars. 3 cars I didn't recognize sat in my driveway. One was a beat-up Chevy with a cracked windshield. Another was a Honda with a bumper sticker that read "In-laws," more like outlaws. The third was a minivan with toys scattered across the back seat. I paid the driver and stood on the sidewalk, my overnight bag feeling heavier with each passing second. The September sun beat down on my shoulders, but I felt cold. Ice cold. The front door was open, wide open. Screen door banging in the wind like nobody cared enough to fix it. I'd raised Marcus better than that. Raised him to respect property, to take care of things. My hands trembled as I walked up the steps I had replaced just last year with my own money. Inside, chaos. A woman I'd never seen before sat on my late mother's vintage sofa, the one I'd reupholstered myself with her feet propped on my coffee table. She was eating chips, dropping crumbs everywhere, watching my television at full volume. "Who are you?" I asked. She barely glanced at me. "Marcus's mother-in-law, who are you?" My blood ran cold. "I'm Auntie Jasmine," I said slowly, my voice steady despite the rage building in my chest. "And this is my house." She laughed, actually laughed. "Not anymore, honey. This is family property now. Marcus signed it over. You must be confused. The hospital probably discharged you too early." The room started spinning. I walked through my own home like a stranger. In the kitchen, another woman younger, maybe Shanice's sister, was cooking on my stove. She'd rearranged everything. My pots were in different cabinets. My grandmother's cast iron skillet sat in the sink, soaking in soapy water. You never soak cast iron. Ever. Upstairs, I found my bedroom occupied. Someone had moved all my belongings into the small guest room, the room I'd prepared as a nursery when Marcus was born 31 years ago. My clothes were stuffed into garbage bags. My jewelry box sat open on the dresser, half empty. I had been such a fool. That night, I sat in what used to be my kitchen, at my own table, while strangers laughed in my living room. Marcus didn't come home until after 9 p.m. When he walked in and saw me, his face went white. "Ma," he stammered, I thought you weren't coming home until next week." Clearly. My voice was quiet, dangerous quiet, the kind of quiet that comes before a storm. Shanice appeared behind him, her eyes darting between us. "Auntie Jasmine, let me explain how you gave away my house." Marcus couldn't look at me. My son, my baby boy, couldn't even meet my eyes. "Ma, you were so sick. The doctors said. They said you might not make it. Shanice's family needed a place to stay, and you thought I was going to die so you'd get a head start on your inheritance." The words hung in the air like poison. "It's not like that," Shanice said, but her voice wavered. "We were going to take care of you. You could live here too, in the guest room. We just thought you thought nothing. You planned this." I stood up, my legs unsteady, but my resolve solid as iron. "I want everyone out, now." Marcus shook his head. "Ma, I can't do that. The papers are signed. It's legal. Mr. Chen at the title office helped me. You'd signed power of attorney before your surgery, remember? In case something happened. I used it to transfer the deed. For the family. For our future." Had I been such a fool? 42 years I'd lived in this house. Bought it when Marcus was just 3 years old, working as a nurse at County General during the day and cleaning offices at night. Sometimes I'd take a weekend shift at the grocery store just to make the mortgage payment. I'd gone without new clothes for years. Driven the same car for 15 years until it literally wouldn't start anymore. All to own this house free and clear. All to have something to pass down to my son. And he'd given it away while I fought for my life in a hospital bed. I looked at Marcus, really looked at him. When had he become this person, this stranger? I remembered when he was 7 years old, came running to me with his first loose tooth. "Mama," he'd said, his eyes wide with wonder and fear, "it's falling out." I'd held him close and explained how losing baby teeth meant he was growing up, becoming strong. He'd been so brave, letting me wiggle it free. We'd put it under his pillow that night, and I'd stayed up until 2 a.m. after my shift just to play Tooth Fairy, leaving him $5, money I couldn't spare, but gave anyway because I wanted him to believe in magic. I remembered his high school graduation. Standing room only in that auditorium, but I'd gotten there 3 hours early to claim a front row seat. When he walked across that stage, valedictorian of his class, my heart had nearly burst with pride. He'd pointed at me during his speech, said, "None of this would be possible without my mama, Auntie Jasmine, the strongest woman I know." I remembered helping him move into his first apartment at 22. It wasn't much a studio in a rough neighborhood, but it was his. He'd been so proud. I'd given him my old dishes, my spare furniture, groceries for his first month. "Thanks, Ma," he'd said, hugging me tight. "I'm gonna make you proud. Everything you sacrificed, I'm gonna make it worth it." I remembered meeting Shanice 3 years ago. She'd seemed sweet, demure, always calling me Auntie Jasmine with such respect. She'd bring me flowers on Mother's Day, help me cook Sunday dinners. "You're the mother I wish I'd had," she'd told me once, tears in her eyes. I'd opened my home to her, opened my heart. When they'd gotten engaged, I'd taken my savings, $12,000 I'd been putting aside for retirement, and paid for their wedding. The dress, the venue, the catering, everything. "You've given me so much, Auntie J," she'd whispered before walking down the aisle. "I'll never forget this. How did we get here? How did the boy I'd raised, the young man I'd sacrificed everything for, become someone who would steal from his own mother? Now it all felt like a lie. Every 'I love you, Ma,' every Mother's Day card, every promise to take care of me when I got old, all lies. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in the guest room, my own guest room that was now supposedly my permanent residence, and pieced together the truth. It had started 3 months ago. Small things I'd noticed but dismissed. Marcus had started asking about my finances. "Ma, you getting older. We should make sure everything's in order." He'd brought me papers to sign powers of attorney, he'd said, just in case. "It's responsible, Ma. Smart. This way, if something happens, I can take care of your bills, your accounts." I'd signed them, trusted him completely. Then Shanice's family had started visiting more. Her mother, Gloria, her sister, Keisha, her brother, Devin, they'd come for Sunday dinners, holidays, random weekdays. "They just love your cooking, Ma," Marcus had said. But now I saw it differently. They'd been casing the place, figuring out what they wanted, making plans. The hospital stay had been their perfect opportunity. I'd gone in for what I thought was a bad cold, but pneumonia had hit me hard. The doctors had put me in a medically induced coma for 10 days. Marcus had visited twice in a month. He'd claimed work was busy, that Shanice was overwhelmed caring for me. But he'd really been busy transferring my house into his name and then giving it to his in-laws. The physical evidence was in my bedroom, my former bedroom. I'd seen the papers on the dresser before they'd shoved me into the guest room. A quitclaim deed, transfer of property. My signature forged or signed under the power of attorney I'd foolishly given him. But there was more. I'd seen a bank statement in the trash. Marcus had also emptied my savings account. The $47,000 I'd managed to save over 30 years of scrimping and sacrificing gone. Transferred to a joint account with Shanice 3 days after I'd been admitted to the hospital. There must be an explanation, I'd tried to tell myself that first night. Marcus wouldn't do this. Not my baby. Not my son, but the evidence was everywhere. The missing jewelry, my mother's pearls, my grandmother's wedding ring. "Lost during the move," Shanice would probably claim. My car title, missing from the locked drawer where I'd kept it. My important documents, nowhere to be found. And the people. Shanice's entire family had moved in. Her mother, Gloria, slept in my bedroom. Her sister, Keisha, and her 3 kids had taken over Marcus's old room. Her brother, Devin, was living in the basement. They'd brought furniture, belongings, even their dog, a pit bull that had already dug up my rose garden. It all started to make sense. The reason Shanice had been so eager to marry Marcus despite him being between jobs. The reason her family had suddenly become so friendly, so involved. The reason Marcus had been so insistent about me signing those papers. They'd been planning this, waiting for their opportunity, and my illness had given it to them. I'll never forget the moment the crushing realization hit me. It was 4:17 a.m., still dark outside, and I was sitting in that guest room surrounded by garbage bags full of my clothes. My life of 42 years reduced to trash bags. My son, my precious baby boy that I'd given everything for, had sold me out, had literally given away my home. My life. My marriage to Marcus's father had been a lie. He'd left when Marcus was 2, leaving me with nothing but debt and a baby. I'd built this life alone. Every brick in this house represented a sacrifice. Every window represented a night I'd gone without dinner so Marcus could eat. Every door represented a birthday present I'd bought him instead of buying myself the shoes I needed. And this was my reward. But as the sun rose that morning, something shifted inside me. The hurt began to crystallize into something harder, sharper. Anger. No rage. I was Auntie Jasmine. I'd survived an abusive marriage, single motherhood, poverty, discrimination, and a month in a hospital fighting for my life. I'd built something from nothing, and I'd be damned if I let them take it from me. I pulled out my cell phone, the one thing they hadn't taken, and made a call. "Mrs. Patterson." My voice was steady now, clear. "I need your help." 20 minutes later, I was sitting in my neighbor's kitchen drinking coffee that actually tasted like coffee, eating toast that I didn't have to make myself. Mrs. Patterson was 73, a retired school principal with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. She'd lived next door for 20 years. She'd watched Marcus grow up, and she'd noticed things. "I knew something was wrong," she said, shaking her head. "When those people started moving in while you were in the hospital, I almost called you. But Marcus said you'd approved it, said you wanted Shanice's family to house sit while you recovered. I should have known better. It's not your fault." I wrapped my hands around the warm coffee mug. "It's mine, I trusted him. Honey, you loved him, that's different." Mrs. Patterson leaned forward. "Now what are you going to do about it?" "I need a lawyer, a good one." She smiled. "I know just the person, my nephew David. He's a real estate attorney. Specializes in elder abuse and property fraud." "I'm not elderly," I said sharply. "No, but you're over 50 and your son used a medical situation to steal your property. That's what they call it, elder financial abuse. It's a crime, Jasmine, a serious crime." Within 2 hours, I was sitting in David Patterson's office downtown. He was about 40, wore an expensive suit, and had kind eyes that reminded me of his aunt. "Mrs. Johnson," he said, taking notes as I explained. "I'll be honest with you. This is bad, very bad. Your son had power of attorney, which means he had legal authority to manage your affairs. However, he violated his fiduciary duty. He was supposed to act in your best interest, not his own. Giving away your house to his in-laws, that's theft, fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and possibly forgery if he signed any documents after you regained consciousness. Can I get my house back? We can try, but it might take time. Months, maybe longer. The legal system moves slowly." He paused. "However, we can also file a police report. What he did is criminal. He could face jail time." The thought of Marcus in jail made my stomach twist. But then I remembered the way he couldn't look at me, the way Shanice had smirked, the way Gloria had laughed at me. "Do it," I said. "File everything. I want my house back and I want them to pay." David pulled out a form. "I'll need you to sign some documents. I'll file an emergency injunction to stop any further transfer of assets. We'll need to freeze any bank accounts he has access to, and we'll need evidence. Photos, documents, witnesses, can you get those?" "I can try." "Good, and Mrs. Johnson, don't confront them, don't tip them off. Let me handle the legal side, you just gather evidence." I nodded, but inside I was already planning. Over the next 2 weeks, I played the part of the defeated old woman. I stayed in the guest room. I didn't argue when Gloria told me what I could and couldn't do in her house. I smiled blandly when Keisha's kids destroyed my garden. I said nothing when Devin brought his friends over for late-night parties that kept me awake. But I was watching, listening, gathering. I set up my old phone, the one I'd kept as a backup, as a recording device. Hidden in the guest room, it captured conversations in the hallway. Gloria bragging about finally having a nice house. Keisha laughing about that old lady stuck in the back room. Marcus and Shanice arguing about money, my money. "She had more than this," Shanice said one night. "The lawyer says we can get more if we file a conservatorship, claim she's mentally incompetent from the illness." "I don't know Shanice," Marcus said, his voice uncertain. She's my mother." "She's a means to an end, Marcus. You said yourself she's always controlled you, always made you feel guilty. This is our chance to be free. Your family has had enough. My family deserves this. We deserve this. I played that recording 3 times, each time feeling my heart harden a little more. Mrs. Patterson helped me install a small camera in the guest room, pointed at the doorway. It captured Shanice going through my purse, Gloria trying to open my locked suitcase, Devin actually stealing $40 from my wallet while I pretended to sleep. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Carmen Rodriguez who specialized in family fraud. She dug into Marcus and Shanice's finances. What she found was shocking. They were broke, completely broke. Marcus had lost his job 6 months ago, laid off, not between jobs like he'd told me. He hadn't worked since. Shanice had maxed out 5 credit cards. They owed $43,000 in debt. They'd been evicted from their apartment 3 months before they moved in with me temporarily. But it was worse than that. Carmen discovered that this wasn't their first time. Shanice's family had done this before to Shanice's grandmother. They'd moved into her house, slowly taken over, and eventually pushed her into a nursing home against her will. The grandmother had died 6 months later, and they'd inherited everything. The house, the savings, everything. They're not just greedy, Carmen said, handing me a folder full of evidence. They're predators. They target vulnerable family members, take over their assets, and push them out. Your son married into a family of con artists, Mrs. Johnson, and now he's become one too. I sat in Carmen's office looking at photo after photo, bank statements, property records, court documents from the grandmother's case, testimony from the nursing home staff about how the family had neglected her. And through it all, one thought kept echoing. They weren't just cheating, they were planning to take everything. The police report was filed on a Monday. Detective Sarah Williams took my statement, reviewed the evidence David and Carmen had gathered, and her face grew grimmer with each page. Mrs. Johnson, I'm going to be straight with you, she said. This is one of the worst cases of elder financial abuse I've seen. Your son and daughter-in-law, along with her family, have stolen your property, your money, and your identity. We're talking multiple felonies here. Grand theft, forgery, conspiracy to commit fraud, identity theft. Everyone involved could face serious prison time. Good, I said, and I meant it. We'll need to move carefully. We'll get warrants, freeze their accounts, but we need to catch them in the act of further fraud. Your lawyer mentioned they're planning to file for conservatorship. That's what I heard on the recording. Perfect. Let them file. Let them commit more crimes. Build the case stronger. Then we'll move. I could have confronted them privately. Could have sat Marcus down, tried to appeal to whatever love he might still have for me. Could have begged, pleaded, cried. But they'd shown me who they were. Gloria laughing at me in my own home. Shanice planning to have me declared incompetent. Marcus unable to even look me in the eye. Keisha and Devin treating my house like their personal playground. They declared war the moment they decided I was better off dead than alive. If they wanted war, they'd have war. David filed the emergency injunction but deliberately delayed serving it. We want them to feel safe, he explained. Let them think they've won. The more comfortable they are, the more evidence they'll provide. Over the next 3 weeks, the plan came together like pieces of a puzzle. I maintained my facade. The broken, defeated old woman. I even let them convince me to sign more papers, papers David had prepared that looked official but were actually meaningless. Each time I signed, I made sure the camera caught everything. Their greed, their manipulation, their absolute certainty that they'd gotten away with it. Carmen discovered that Marcus and Shanice were planning something big, a party. A victory celebration, one of Shanice's text messages called it. They were inviting friends, family, neighbors, showing off their new house. That's our moment, David said, his eyes gleaming. A public confrontation with plenty of witnesses. We'll serve the papers, execute the warrants, and expose them in front of everyone they know. I secured the bank accounts. I still had access to a small checking account Marcus didn't know about. I removed my mother's pearls from the display case in the living room and gave them to Mrs. Patterson for safekeeping. I went through the house photographing everything. My furniture, my belongings, my mother's china, my grandmother's quilts, building a record of what was mine. Every night I sat in that guest room, listening to them laugh in my living room, and I planned. Step by step, move by move. I thought about all the times I'd protected Marcus as a child, from bullies, from his father's temper, from disappointment and pain. I'd been his shield, his advocate, his defender. Now I would be his reckoning. The morning of the party, Shanice actually came to my room. "Auntie Jasmine," she said, her voice saccharine sweet, "we're having some people over tonight. Maybe you could stay in your room. It might be overwhelming for you with your health and all." I smiled at her, gentle, confused, defeated. "Of course, dear, I don't want to be in the way." She actually patted my hand. "You're so understanding. This is why we love you." I wanted to throw up. The party started at 6 p.m. By 6:30, my house was full of people. Music thumped through the walls. Laughter echoed through the halls. I could hear Marcus giving tour, showing off his home. Could hear Gloria holding court in my kitchen, cooking my food, using my dishes. At 7:15, I got the text from David. "We're ready, walk out at 7:30. I changed my clothes, not the frumpy, worn-out things I'd been wearing. I put on my Sunday best, a deep purple dress, my good shoes, my mother's pearls that I'd retrieved from Mrs. Patterson that afternoon. I did my makeup, fixed my hair. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see a defeated old woman. I saw Auntie Jasmine. A woman who'd survived everything life threw at her. A woman who was about to take back what was hers. At exactly 7:30, I walked out of the guest room. The party was in full swing. At least 40 people crammed into my living room, dining room, and kitchen. Friends of Marcus and Shanice I'd never met. Shanice's family, of course. Some neighbors who'd been fooled by their story. Even some people from Marcus's old job. I walked down the stairs slowly, deliberately. Someone noticed me first, a young woman I didn't recognize. She nudged her friend, pointing. Then another person turned, and another. Like a wave, the room fell silent. Marcus saw me and went pale. "Ma, what are you? You should be resting." "In my own house," I said clearly, loudly, so everyone could hear. "At my own party, no, I don't think so." Shanice moved toward me, her face tight with fake concern. "Auntie Jay, you're confused. This isn't your party. We're just having friends over. You should go back to your room." "My room? You mean my guest room? In my house, the house I bought 42 years ago, the house you stole from me." The room went dead silent. "Ma, stop it," Marcus hissed. "You're embarrassing yourself." "Am I, or am I embarrassing you?" I moved into the center of the room. "Let them see me. Let them all see me. How many of you know the truth, that I'm Auntie Jasmine, the real owner of this house? That I spent a month in the hospital fighting pneumonia, and while I was gone, my son, my only child, gave my house away to his wife's family." "She's sick," Gloria said loudly. "Dementia, we're taking care of her." "I don't have dementia, I have evidence." I pulled out my phone and connected it to the TV, my TV. The screen lit up with a video, Shanice going through my purse, Gloria trying to break into my suitcase, Devin stealing money from my wallet. "This is ridiculous," Shanice sputtered. "Those videos are fake. You're trying to." The front door opened. Detective Williams walked in along with 3 other officers. Behind them, David Patterson entered, carrying a briefcase. "Good evening," Detective Williams said, her voice carrying authority. "I'm Detective Williams with the Fraud Division. We have warrants for the arrest of Marcus Johnson and Shanice Johnson for felony grand theft, elder financial abuse, forgery, and conspiracy to commit fraud." The room erupted. People backing away. Phones coming out, Shanice screaming, Marcus frozen in place. "You can't do this," Gloria shrieked. "The house is legally ours. Marcus transferred it fair and square." David stepped forward. "Actually, no. He used power of attorney, which is meant to protect his mother's interests, not steal her property. He violated his fiduciary duty, which makes the transfer illegal. As of 2 hours ago, Judge Martinez issued an emergency order reversing the property transfer. This house belongs to Mrs. Jasmine Johnson. Always has, always will." He pulled out papers from his briefcase and held them up. "I have here a court order evicting everyone who is not Mrs. Johnson from this property. You have 24 hours to remove your belongings. Anything left after that will be considered abandoned." "But where will we go?" Keisha wailed. I looked at her, then at Gloria, then at Devin. These people who had laughed at me, mocked me, stolen from me. That's not my problem. You should have thought of that before you moved into a house you didn't own. Marcus finally found his voice. "Ma, please, I'm your son. You can't do this to me." "Can't I? You gave away my house, stole my savings, planned to have me declared incompetent so you could control everything. You forgot one thing, Marcus." I stepped closer to him, looked him dead in the eye. "You forgot that I'm your mother. I know you. I raised you. And I taught you better than this. But you made your choice. You chose greed over family. Lies over love. Now you live with the consequences." Detective Williams moved forward with handcuffs. Marcus Johnson, you're under arrest. You have the right to remain silent. Mom, Marcus's voice cracked. Please, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Don't let them arrest me. A mistake is forgetting to take out the trash. This was calculated theft. This was betrayal. My voice didn't waver, didn't break. You're my son, and I'll always love you, but I won't let you destroy me. Shanice lunged toward me, but an officer caught her. You bitch, you manipulative old bitch. We gave you a home. You stole my home. Shanice Johnson, Detective Williams said, pulling out another set of handcuffs. You're also under arrest. As they were led away in handcuffs, both of them crying now, begging, the guests started filing out. Some looked shocked. Some looked guilty. They must have known something was wrong. Some just looked eager to leave, to gossip about what they'd witnessed. Mrs. Patterson appeared at my side, along with Carmen and David. You did it, Mrs. Patterson said softly. We did it, I corrected. After everyone left, after the police had gone, after Gloria and her family had been escorted off the property by officers who made sure they didn't take anything that wasn't theirs, I walked through my house. My house. I stood in the living room where my mother's sofa sat, crumbs from Gloria's chips still on the cushions. I'd clean it tomorrow. I walked into the kitchen where my grandmother's cast iron skillet still soaked in the sink. I'd restore it tomorrow. I climbed the stairs to my bedroom where Gloria had slept in my bed, used my things, violated my space. I'd reclaim it tomorrow. But tonight, I just stood in the center of my house and breathed. They lost everything in one night. The house, obviously. The money, David had frozen their accounts and filed civil suits to recover my stolen savings. Marcus lost his professional reputation. News of his arrest spread fast. Shanice lost her family's support. Turned out Gloria, Keisha, and Devin were so angry about being evicted that they blamed her for the whole thing. The criminal trial took 8 months. In that time, I learned more about my son than I ever wanted to know. The debt, the lies, the entitlement. The lawyer he hired tried to paint me as a vindictive mother, but the evidence was overwhelming. The recordings, the videos. The testimony from Carmen's investigation. The paper trail of stolen money and fraudulent documents. Marcus and Shanice both pleaded guilty eventually. The prosecutor offered them a deal: 3 years in prison, restitution of all stolen funds, and 10 years probation. They took it. Gloria, Keisha, and Devin were charged as accessories, but got off with probation and fines since they hadn't actually signed any fraudulent documents. At the sentencing, the judge looked at Marcus and said, You betrayed the person who loved you most in this world. You stole from the woman who sacrificed everything for you. You deserve every day of this sentence. Marcus cried. Shanice glared. I sat in the back of the courtroom and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no victory, just emptiness. But that emptiness eventually filled with something better. Peace. I live alone now in my house. I changed the locks, of course, repainted the walls. Replaced things that had been damaged or stolen, made it mine again. Mrs. Patterson comes over for coffee every Sunday. We sit in my kitchen and talk about life, community, resilience. I've joined a support group for survivors of financial elder abuse. Once a month, I tell my story to others who have been through similar situations. I tell them, fight back, don't be ashamed, get a good lawyer, document everything, and never, ever trust someone just because they're family. The house feels different now. Lighter somehow, not haunted by betrayal but strengthened by survival. I've started taking in foster kids, teenagers who need a stable home. I can offer them what I thought I'd offered Marcus: unconditional love, support, and a safe place. But I'm wiser now. I help them, but I protect myself too. Trust, but verify. Love, but don't be a fool. Marcus writes to me from prison, every week like clockwork. Long letters full of apologies and excuses. I was weak. Shanice manipulated me. I never meant to hurt you. I love you, Ma. I don't write back. Maybe I will someday. Maybe when he's out and has proven through years of right living that he's changed. Or maybe I never will. Some bridges once burned can't be rebuilt. Shanice doesn't write. I hear through mutual acquaintances that she's blamed everyone but herself. Blamed Marcus for going along with it. Blamed me for pressing charges. Blamed the system for not understanding. She's filed for divorce. Apparently, love built on greed doesn't last when there's nothing left to steal. I sometimes think about Marcus as a little boy. The way he'd curl up next to me on the couch. The way he'd bring me dandelions from the yard, proud to give me flowers. The way he'd say, I love you, Mama, every single night before bed. That boy is gone. Maybe he never really existed. Or maybe he grew into someone I didn't recognize because I'd loved him so much I couldn't see his flaws, couldn't imagine he'd ever hurt me. But I can't live in the past, can't mourn who he might have been. I can only move forward, wiser and stronger. Looking back now, I realize that the worst betrayals come from those we love most because they're the only ones we let close enough to destroy us. They know our weaknesses, our blind spots, our deepest trusts. And when they weaponize that knowledge, the damage is profound. But betrayal also reveals truth. It strips away illusions and shows us exactly who people are. Marcus showed me he was capable of cruelty. Shanice showed me she was a predator. And I showed myself that I was stronger than I'd ever known. Some say I was too harsh. That family should forgive. That I should have given him a second chance, worked it out privately, not involved the law. To those people, I say, he didn't just betray me. He tried to destroy me. He literally tried to take everything I'd worked for and leave me with nothing. And he did it while I was fighting for my life in a hospital bed. That's not a mistake. That's not a moment of weakness. That's calculated evil. I protected myself. I used the law. I fought back. And I won. There's no shame in that. No guilt. Only the hard-earned peace of a woman who refused to be a victim. I'm 52 years old now. I own my house free and clear again. I have my savings back, every penny recovered through the civil suit. I have my dignity, my strength, and my life. I've learned that love without boundaries is not love, it's surrender. And I've learned that family doesn't mean accepting abuse in the name of blood. Would I do it again? Absolutely. In a heartbeat, without hesitation. Because I'm Auntie Jasmine. I built this life with my own hands, my own sweat, my own sacrifice. And nobody, not even my own son, gets to take that from me. To anyone reading this who's facing something similar, who's being manipulated or abused by family members, who's told that loyalty means accepting mistreatment, fight back, document everything, get professional help. Use the law, protect yourself. You deserve better. Your life's work deserves protection. And your betrayers deserve consequences. That's not revenge. That's justice. And sometimes, justice is the most loving thing you can do both for yourself and for those who have lost their way. Maybe Marcus will learn from prison. Maybe he'll become a better person. Maybe one day he'll genuinely understand what he did and make real amends. Or maybe he won't. Either way, I'll be fine, more than fine. I'll be free. Because at the end of the day, the best revenge is not just surviving, it's thriving. And honey, I'm thriving. My house stands solid on Maple Street, a testament to resilience. My garden is blooming again. I replanted the roses Devon's dog destroyed. My mother's sofa is clean and restored. My grandmother's cast iron skillet is seasoned and hanging in its proper place. And I sit in my kitchen every morning, drinking coffee at my table, watching the sun rise over property that belongs to me, surrounded by peace I fought for and won. They tried to bury me. They didn't know I was a seed. I'm Auntie Jasmine, and this is my house.